Hello, Jamaica. I am Senator Cleveland Tomlinson, and welcome to a special edition of The Breakdown, where we dissect what happened in Parliament and bring you the facts. This week, we are taking a closer look at Jamaica's fiscal exposure from Hurricane Melissa. We're looking at what happened in Parliament and the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee to separate the spin from the substance in what the government calls a surging economy. Let's start with this. The finance minister said that the economy was surging prior to Hurricane Melissa. Presumably, the minister is referring to the Planning Institute of Jamaica's estimate of 4.6% growth for the third quarter. That's July to September 2025. But that number just reflects a rebound from the sharp contraction caused by Hurricane Beryl in the same quarter last year. So that 4.6 headline number is being lifted by a recovery from a low production base in 2024. It is not implying an underlying economic acceleration. That is factual. Shadow Minister of Finance Julian Robinson took to the floor to press the government for transparency around the newly announced US $6.7 billion recovery package. He called for updated debt to GDP projections, details on loan terms, and clarity on moratoria repayment periods and the private sector component.
You mentioned growth-inducing capital expenditure. What is the government going to do differently now from what it has done over the last 4 to 5 fiscal years, where we have underspent our capital budget by significant amounts? We have had to reallocate the capital budget for recurrent expenditure and many other different things. So what is going to be different in this environment so that we can actually spend the very limited capital budget, which generally is only about, from central government, 5% of the overall budget, and if you add the public bodies, another 5%. So it would be important to understand what we will be doing differently to ensure that we spend the money so that we can achieve the economic growth.
Robinson also raised a critical issue. Jamaica has a multi-year pattern of underspending its capital budget. So the question is, how will this government deliver on the promise of growth if it keeps missing its own investment targets with respect to the spending of the capital budget? Leader of Opposition Business, Philip Powell, raised a key question. He asked whether Parliament can meaningfully debate the third supplementary estimates when major details from the Prime Minister's recovery announcement are still missing. He noted that, at this rate, a fourth supplementary budget may soon be unavoidable.
In relation to today's tabling of the third supplementary estimates, and the acknowledgement that we really don't have a complete picture having regard to the announcements made earlier by the Prime Minister, is it reasonable for us to proceed with this debate for the third supplementary estimates? Aren't we quite likely to return very soon when the picture is far more comprehensive?
He also demanded full disclosure on the JPS loan, the interest rates, the asset valuation, and the plan for securing the remaining financing to meet the February restoration deadline. Then came Opposition Leader Mark Olden, who reminded the House that Jamaica has a legacy of prudent disaster financing built by successive administrations. He highlighted the pivotal work of former Finance Minister Dr. Omar Davies, who helped establish the regional parametric insurance model that has already delivered over $90 million to Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa. Golding then called for updated debt to GDP projections in light of the US $6.7 billion recovery financing and demanded the release of technical reports underpinning the government's decision to suspend Jamaica's fiscal rules. He urged transparency around the terms of new borrowing, the status of the private sector investment component, and the length of payment suspensions granted by international partners. Because, as he puts it, transparency isn't optional, it is essential. But the pivotal moment came late in the evening, as the order relating to the fiscal suspension was about to be signed. Opposition leader caught an error in the order itself.
I'm saying that 2.4 billion is not assured. And we want to hear more about what projects and what investors are going to be coming to the table to undertake those projects and make sure that that component of the 6.7 billion is in fact real. So, Madam Speaker, there's a lot that remains to be explained to us. We don't know any of the terms of this proposed borrowing, the interest rates, the tenures of the loans, any moratoria on interest and principal. From the numbers that were tabled today in the supplementary budget, I can see that certain interest expenses are not going to be incurred. So I assume that means that those multilateral lenders have agreed to suspend the obligation to pay during this period. I'd like to know for how long that suspension is going to last. I don't think that Jamaica has natural disaster clauses in any of our borrowings. I'm not aware of that. That has been pioneered by Barbados in their bond offerings, and I believe Grenada also took advantage of that where an event of a calamity of this nature caused by some natural disaster takes place, there's a period of suspension of debt payments for the duration of the effect of the disaster.
Parliament had to be suspended to correct the mistake, a serious error. The draft order, as tabled by Minister Williams, would have limited the suspension period to just a few months, when the law clearly provides for up to 2 years given the scale of the impact of the natural disaster. Golding asked her to review and adjust, and she did. That is what accountability looks like in action.
An error in the order. It should be March 31st, 2027, and as rightly pointed out by the leader of the opposition. So,
now, while Parliament dissected the numbers, the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, or PAAC for short, was examining the agencies that make these numbers work. This week's presentations from the Office of Utilities Regulation, OUR, and JPS raised issues that tie directly into the supplementary budget debate. MP Nikisha Burchell challenged the OUR on the transparency of JPS hurricane-related claims. She questioned whether any independent audit was done for Beryl or Melissa, or if the country is relying solely on JPS' self-imposed $350 million figure.
Thank you. I wonder, has the OUR conducted, commissioned, or required an audit of JPS's damage claims for Hurricane Beryl or for Hurricane Melissa? Or are we relying completely on what they've self-reported? So this $350 million bill for Hurricane Melissa, which has been much talked about in terms of the government's contribution to it, is it something we're just taking from JPS and then forcing the government to cough up well-needed resources to help them finance a figure that they've self-reported? Or are you going to find a way to verify that?
She also pressed for answers on estimated bills despite JPS's digital meters and asked whether the OUR can ensure zero consumption billing for customers who had no electricity for weeks after Hurricane Melissa.
Why I'm told by customers that they are still receiving estimated bills. when JPS operates a fully digital metering system that can give you hour by hour data on usage, is it true that JPS is still giving estimated bills, and why would something like that occur?
MP Wavell Hines pressed the OUR at PAAC on behalf of consumers, questioning whether refunds were ordered after burial and if JPS complied, if customers affected by Melissa can expect rebates for prolonged outages, the actual damage to the grid, and the OUR's role and capacity to verify JPS's figures.
Mr. Hines.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon and welcome to Parliament. Just to ask a few questions relating to Melissa and one on burial. I'm going to start with burial. Was there any refund ordered by OUR for customers, and did the JPS comply? And I will ask the same for Melissa. Will there be any refund ordered for Melissa going forward?
He also raised the question of whether the government must step in to secure relief for customers who paid for services they didn't receive.
When we were preparing for the hurricane, the JPS will have come out and said that the expenditure will increase naturally because of the rain events. Are you saying that the government then will have to be the ones who will impose that sort of order on JPS for them to see where it's fit to give some rebate, give some refund to customers?
MP Peter Bunting also requested an updated, definitive figure on JPS's restoration costs after the hurricane, noting that estimates have been moving as assessments continue. He pressed for the current, most reliable cost of restoration now on record.
To write on that, what is, we've heard since the hurricane a moving figure of the cost of restoration for JPS, which is normal because as time goes on they'll do a better assessment. What's the current figure we're working with in terms of the cost of restoration?
MP Damian Crawford looked closely at the numbers behind the government's recovery announcements, pressing for clarity on the advertised US $6.7 billion package and how much of it is truly guaranteed versus merely mobilized through private-to-private arrangements. He questioned whether the headline figure was misleading, given that only $3.6 billion and the insurance funds appear to be actually.
Chairman, I'd like to ask the broader questions first and then get to the ministry. PS, there is a advertised $6.7 billion US dollars, approximately $1 trillion Jamaican, that is coming in loans and other types of offerings. Can you explain the segments that this is broken down into? If I can focus on the 2.4, could you explain what is meant by mobilizing investment? Is that a loan coming to the government to unlend, or is that a loan directly to private sector?
That's would be primarily the IMF, the World Bank and the IDB private sector arms, who generally mobilize money from the private sector in order to lend to the private sector of the country.
So it's private to private?
Private to private.
So that 2.4 billion have not been secured?
No.
So what has been secured is the 3.6 billion and the money from the insurance.
In terms of on the government side, that is what is.
Okay, so the headline would have been misleading to say 6.7 billion secured.
You could say that.
Okay.
Before approving the $24.2 billion loan to JPS and what impact that commitment will have on the country's fiscal space. Turning to education, he highlighted that just $600 million has been allocated to repair 616 damaged schools after Hurricane Melissa, raising the question of whether such small amount can realistically meet the scale of the need.
mobilized, is that dependent on the appetite of the private sector? As it relates to the loan to JPS, are you aware if there were any other method considered, including a government guarantee? All right, if we can move to the Ministry of Education, we recognize that 600 million was allocated for Hurricane Melissa relief, additional requirement to support restoration, cleanup of 616 schools. That's approximately less than $1 million per school.
In wrapping up this special edition of The Breakdown, we repeat, we want to see an effective recovery process that takes into account the input and involvement of a wide cross-section of stakeholders. We are willing to play our part as the opposition, and we will emerge as a country stronger from Hurricane Melissa.